Hello everyone, Howard Baxton here again. In this video, we're going to move on a little bit to instructions card number 7. This is all about props. We've completed all the animation things that are possible and should be fairly extensive at covering all possibilities for sitters and seating and how, all of that stuff. So we'll move on and deal with props. And a little introduction up here. Props are a very important part of setting a scene and making the illusion of a scene believable. And I added a little note here and said I hope I can show enough to spark the creative imagination in everyone. So there's a ton of things you can do, just have to figure out how to do them. In V4, things have changed a bit for props from what they've normally been in the past. The course scripts no longer control the rezzing and prop communications. So in other words, that's been moved out of the course script and put into another script. These functions have been put into the prop plugin. Okay. This means that the prop plugin must be added to the pad as well as added to each one of the props that you want to res. Actually, I think you don't have to have the prop plugin inside the prop. However, if you want to talk to it or make it die automatically, then you will need it. So in other words, we can res a prop that doesn't have the prop plugin inside, but we cannot communicate, cannot cause it to automatically die. So it's just there. You'll have to manually die it or make it die. To use a prop within nPose and res it when needed, as well as make it an extension of nPose, add the nPose prop plugin to contents of your prop before adding it to the contents of the pad. Okay, so we have to do that outside of nPose. So if you res your object, the one intended to be a prop, in world, and make sure it has copy permissions, because if it doesn't, you're only going to be able to res it once and it's gone. So make sure you have copy permissions on any object that you want to use as a prop. It says edit the object. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's just make a silly little cube. In contents, we need to have the prop plugin. Where's it at? Right here. nPose prop plugin. Right there. Okay, and it's named object. And it says add the prop plugin script, which I just did. Name your prop in the general tab of the edit window and make sure it's simply prop without the quotes, just for an ease of mind. So in a classroom environment, we all know what we're talking about. So let's just make that prop. Okay, so that's all done. We got copy permissions. All of my objects come up full perm. So take your newly created prop back to inventory and add it to the contents of your pad. And that's this pad up here. Okay, so let me catch up here with this, and let's take this pad out and res it. Okay, now that that's done, let's catch back up over here. Take your newly created prop back into inventory and add it to the contents of the pad. So if I catch this thing, take it back into my inventory, and I have an object, I have a prop. And so if I edit the pad, I can add it in here. So there we go. And there's our prop. It's added back in. So we're up to speed here. I don't know what we've actually got, but let me look at this. We have a default card, and it has been set up to use meditation as the default pose. We have meditation in there. And we have a default card set default, so it's being named as a default and it has 4 seats. Okay, I'm happy with all of that. And we even have some admin utilities, so no worries, we're good to go. So, it also says add the prop plugin to the pad. It's already there, so we don't really need to add it to the pad. It's been already added for us. And it is the correct version. Everybody's happy. We even have the sat plugin in there. Typical with what I normally do. These two plugins are usually a part of my basic setup because they are used so extensively and allow us to do a ton of things. So I usually typically include those. Step number 2, create a note card in your inventory. Let me go get out of that, go to my working, hold on. Okay, I've just cleared out my working folder. We're going to start with a new pad and new demo object here. And we'll probably be creating some note cards and things in there. So it says create a note card in your inventory and name it set prop res. So let me copy that. Create a new note card. Paste that name in there. And then inside the card, add this line. Prop, uppercase, keyword, prop name, a position vector, and a rotation vector. So let's go ahead and copy this line. Actually, this should typically be right back here like this, so it's easy to copy. And add that in right here. Okay, so we're going to res it at 0, 0, but we're going to res it up in the z-axis by 1 meter. I like to do that typically because sometimes your prop is small or whatever, and it'll res at 0, 0, 0 is inside that pad somewhere, and you can't even see it. It's hard to locate. So save and close, add it to the pad. All right, so now we've got this note card in here, res prop, talking about our prop, which is here. So we've got the prop in there, and we've got this line. What this line is a command to res that prop. Okay, so that's where we're at. Here it says you can now res your prop from the menu. Give it a try. Okay, let me see. Touch, prop, res. That was just too easy. Yeah, I know. nPose is pretty simple. Now here's a question. How do we reposition the prop such that it reses where we want it to be positioned rather than where we just said that we want it? Well, in step 3 it says edit the prop and move it into the spot where you'd like it to be res next time. And then copy the line the prop sends to your local chat. Well, okay. So if I edit that thing, let's see. Why don't we set it over here on the edge and down low on the ground, right between the 1 and 2. Now we see that we've got a couple of reports. I moved it twice, so, or at least twice. So here's the line we want. That's the last one in our local chat. So the prop actually tells you where you've put it. And so just like adjusting the adjusters or positions of the avatars when they set, props do the same thing for you. So it says edit the pad and open the set prop res. So, okay, let's go down here. Set prop res, that's opened. And replace the original prop line. Place there in step 2. So what that's talking about is to go get this line. Actually, it comes from the prop. Cool. Copy that. Replace this line. Paste that. So the rotation didn't change, but our position did. Mostly in the z-axis and a little bit lower on the z-axis and mostly in the y-axis. Sorry. Okay. Now what do we do? Well, it says save and close. How do we make this prop go away? Option 1, make another note card in inventory and name it set prop die. Let's do that. Let's copy this. Make a new note card and name it, paste that in there, set die. Save and close, add it to the content. Oh, wait a minute. Insert the card. Inside the card, add the following line. And again, I need to move that so it's easier to copy. So let's copy this, open this up, and paste it. Prop do is an interesting command. We have to, anytime we want to send a command out to a prop, we need to use prop do. It allows us to specify which props to send the command to. It allows us to specify a group number for the props, so we can res multiple props in a specific group as a group number, and we can tell them all to die, or we can send a command out to them all at once. So at any rate, that's what this is all about. Anytime we need to send a command to the props for execution, we need to preamble it with a prop do. This empty one here that you see right after the prop group, it's something that's not used. I think it's put there typically for scripting use, and I think this is the first step, is actually putting it in there. So we're all used to putting it in there, but we're not ever actually able to use it yet. It's a namespace spot. Typically, we're going to always leave that namespace empty for now, and it's probably reserved mostly for just scripts. A way to use it for scripts. And it says save and close and add it to the contents. Let's read this note. Any communications to the prop must be preambled with the prop to command. Look at there, will you? And I've even provided the link to that command, so you guys can look that over on your own. It says pretty much what I saved. So we need to save this and add it to our pad. Okay, so what's next on the list? It says you can now get rid of the prop using the menu. Give it a try. Okay. So I don't see that, and I'm sure my menu's timed out anyway. It's been more than 120 seconds. So let's touch for a new menu. Go to the prop submenu and click die. And yes, our prop dies. Yay, we made progress. Option 2, edit the default card and add this line. Actually, let's not put this in the default card. Let's put it in the .init. And let's make this easier to copy. And let's put it in here somewhere. what have we done here? This is one of those global options, and you'll see a link down at the bottom in references for global options. This particular option to default, what that does is when everyone stands, it issues, and this thing's turned on. You can obviously turn it off, or off is the default, so if you don't add it in there as an on, it's always going to be off. What that does, everybody stands, to default kicks in as an option, and tells nPose to run the default note card, which is set default card, which is this one. Boom. Now, there's an interesting property about this in that the way we've rezzed our prop, that's not the card I wanted to look at. The way we've rezzed our prop with res, we haven't supplied a prop group to it, so it's going to default to prop group 0. When nPose sees an exanim line, prop group 0 props automatically die. Also, prop group 0 props die when the default card is run. So both ways, this thing's going to die. It's going to run the default card, and it's also going to see that exanim line in there. Now, another way this to default actually works is if I'm using the menu and I'm not seated, I'm standing. Obviously, when I can't stand to make it run the default card, but when the menu times out in 120 seconds after my last touch of the menu, unless I'm not the only one using the menu while standing, that will key it off, and it will run the default card at that point when the menu times out, if no one's standing, or if no one's sitting and I'm standing and using the menu. There we go. Okay, so that's an interesting fact. Now we can go ahead and res the prop, I think. What happened to the prop? There it is. I don't know what happened. Maybe I didn't hit it quite right or something. I don't know. And if we wait for this thing to time out in 120 seconds, you'll see that prop die. So all prop group 0 props do die when the menu times out. Or if we have sitters, they will die when all stand. So we can continue on here and take a look and see what all this is happening here. The options, and it explains all of those things I just told you. So I've covered that. And it says there will be times when the behavior of a normal prop just doesn't fill the need. In other words, you want a prop to stay rezzed and still change note cards, change poses, and all that stuff. You don't want the prop to die every time. Maybe you'd like to have it stay rezzed for a series of postcards. Maybe in a submenu or something like that. For those occasions, we have an option to help out. We can res a prop, even the same prop, in a way that doesn't respond to the exanim line and will stay rezzed. This type of group is called explicit because we have to explicitly tell the prop to die. In other words, it'll stay rezzed until we tell it to die. We still have a prop there yet? Yeah, we do. Boy, I thought that was... Well, anyway. In the set prop res card, add another line. And let's move that back. And we're going to assign a prop group. That's the next one in the line here. So you have your keyword prop to do the rezzing, you have the prop name, you have the position vector, you have the rotation vector, and next we'll add a prop group number. So use the pipe and add the prop group number. Let's copy that. There, see my prop's gone. On the prop res, let's add another line, and we'll just put an empty line in there. And it'll say the same thing. Say the same thing. Excuse me. My tongue got tied there a bit. So now that everything's died, I know my menu's timed out because that prop died. I can't res props again. The menu's died. And now we can click and res the res button, and 2 copies of the same prop will res. Test it out. Click the default card button and see which one dies. Click the die button and see which one dies. And in this case, we have explicitly told the die, since the die button has no restrictions on which it will catch all groups. So let's look at that, explain that. Die button doesn't care the group number. If the prop name is prop, it's going to kill it. So in other words, if we res these things by doing the touch, props, and res, we see we've got that one. Now we've got this other one. If we click the die button, both of these are going to die. If we res them again and go click the default card, though, that's another way you can just get them to die. Which one's going to die? That one. Our explicit one, which is prop group 1 now, still remains. And will remain until such time as we hit the die button. Boom. Okay, so we've got some other control there over props. What's this? Prop die, okay. What's next? Props can also be grouped together with group numbers that use the number 1 above can be set to any number up to 15. So we can use a prop group 1 and up to 15. And I believe that number is larger now. I don't want to make an assumption and tell you how high it can go, but it's very possible you can go up as high as 256. In the last version of nPose, that number was 15. 15 groups is pretty good. It's not bad. We're not going to have more than 15 groups res at any one time, so we should be in good shape there. So, step 5, we're going to talk about making another group. In the set prop res card, add another line. And we'll use a different prop group. Copy. And in the res card, add another line. And save and close the card. Add it to the contents of the pad, and it's already in the pad. No, we're up here. Save and close the card. Step 6, make a card in your inventory and call it set prop die 2. So let me copy this. That was kind of weird. Wasn't expecting all those other options. New note card, paste, and there it is. Inside the card, add the prop do tie. Prop do, all the different names, we don't care what the name is, and group 2. and then die. So let me copy that, paste it in here, save and close, and add to the contents of the tab. Save and close, prop die 2. Now it says click and res and see that we now have 3 props resed. Click the buttons to see which prop dies. You should see that now we are not getting rid of the normal prop without either of these buttons. With either of these buttons. Oh, did I miss something? I did. Step 7, edit the prop die card and change it to this line. Copy this line, and paste it. So we're going to get rid of the prop name. We don't care what the name is. We're going to use an asterisk there, but we're going to actually use the group to control which prop we're going to delete. So we have lots of control here. That's pretty cool. Save and close. Okay, now we can go to this card, and I'm sure I'm timed out. So prop, res props. Hello. That is just, there we go. Took a little while. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so if we click the die button, we get that one, die 2, we get this one, and these buttons don't control this one any longer because we moved out the prop name. We're only working on groups now. So the only way you can get this one to die is to click the default card. All good. It wants us to test this again. So in other words, it says click the prop button and res them all, and go back, click the default, and we see only that one dies. These 2 don't die. So that proves the rest of what we're saying, that these die by group. And you literally have to make them die explicitly by telling them by group. Now in step 8, it says edit the set prop res card in contents and add one more line. Add this line to the card. Okay. Here we're resing a prop group 2, and we're going to make it quiet, and we're going to move that 1 meter in the Y direction. So let's copy this, edit a res, and add a 4th line. Paste that in. So we've got this quiet tied onto the end. This is interesting in itself. So let's see. What does our instructions tell us? Save and close. All right, we'll go ahead and close. And in the discussion here, it says click the res button and see that we now have 4 props resed. Okay, let's res. Good, I didn't time out. Yeah, we have 4. This must be the last one we just resed, so our last one we added to the res card. Edit and move each one. They should report their new location in local chat, except for that last one, which has quiet at the end. This mode is meant for props that were meant to be moving once resed. something like Animesh or whatever. And now we can test the die buttons and make sure that die 2 kills this one as well as this one, not that one and not this one. So let's see. First we want to edit these things and move them. And got it after 10 seconds. We've got this showing up. We want to move this one. Let's see if we get another line. And let's try moving this one. Whoops, I missed it. And we get this line, which is prop group 1. And if we move this one, we can sit here and wait all day. We should not see another line show up. It just isn't going to happen. These things report on a 10-second timer, so it's possible that the longest it'll take to get a report back is 10 seconds. Anytime in between that 10 seconds, and it will report. But this one isn't reporting even after 10 seconds. So that's our quiet res mode. And if we hit prop die, I see my timer or my menu timed out again. Let's go to prop and die. We get prop group 1 die. Yeah, our menu timed out, and that other one died too. I see it's gone. And die 2 gets both of those. So if you res these, go back to default. Yeah, that one still dies. Go to prop, die 2. This one and this one should go. And die 1, this one should go. There we have it. Now then, I threw a little bit something extra in here, just as a little exercise, and give you an example of what happens. Or I give you an example of something that should cover what we've already covered. So as a preamble to that, if I sit here and I stand, look at me, I'm standing on top of this device. If that was a table, I'd be standing on top of the table. Okay, what we're doing here is giving you a little something extra. Ever at the end of it, end up on top of a table or a bed or something when you stand up? Does this just not feel right? What if we can give our sitters a way to stand elsewhere? And it's telling you how to make this set, or telling you to make a set stand note card, what to put in it. Okay, and it's going to use this nPose or RNP nPose static pose, which I thought I saw in here. Yes, there it is. Okay, so it's in there already. So what we're going to do is use singles. So any single who clicks set stand, who is seated, will actually move to this default static pose, but in a different position. So everybody gets to stand in a different position, and then the on sit. So whichever one of these guys click the menu, seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, or seat 4, we have a line to control those. So when they sit, a timer will run. Timer, and it will run for 2 seconds, and you can change that if that's too long. You want to make it 1 second, that's fine too. Or if you want to make it just automatically go, I guess you can do that as well. And you're going to unsit the avatar that's seated in this seat. If it's seat 1, if it's seat 4, you're going to unsit the avatar that is in that seat. And to quiet down the menu, or keep the menu from returning we just send it, we tell it to go look for a plugin menu named void, and there is not one that's built in. Unless you've built one, it will get lost in the void trying to find the void. So we won't remenu. And then it says save and close and add it to the note card. I'm going to let you guys do that and tinker with that one on your own. And it says if you don't already have it, you have this, and in order to run the on sits, you need the sat not sat plugin. And then you can give it a try. And it talks about the plugin menu void and what happens. And I've included lots of links to the wiki for what we've covered here today. So thank you. See you next